So I finally have a day to shoot a video and I'm sick. My nose is all plugged up. Throat is full of gunk. So no review today. Instead, I'm stealing an idea from my friend Robin over on This Blog's Neat. So I'm going to put a link below. Go to Robin's channel. Go subscribe. She's terrific. She actually knows something about this stuff, unlike myself, and she edits her videos. How about that? Like, it looks like there might even be some lighting set up. But anyway, she got a prompt from a commenter to do a list of basically spirits brands in the categories she set up for herself that she likes, that she trusts, that are kind of right at the top. So it's kind of like not just which brands, well, do you like, but like what are you ride or die on? Like what are the brands you're going to stand by? And she was understandably kind of reluctant with this question, as she says, because I mean, for many reasons. Number one, like things change in the spirits industry month by month. So, you know, if any one of these like cranks up their prices or anything like that, I might change my mind. But I think that's a great fun challenge to try. To not just because there's a lot of brands out there that I like, and a lot of brands I don't like that put out, you know, a really solid product here and there. But what are kind of like what are my ride or die brands in various kinds of categories? So thank you, Robin, for the prompt. And let's start. She started with whiskey. I will follow suit. And as long as we're doing whiskey, let's start in Scotland. Why not? So for my ride or die Scotch, I was tempted to pick Glen Ord, because Glen Ord is really the only malt I can think of where if I see a bottle at a reasonable price, I will just buy it. Like, no questions asked. Because I like Glen Ord that much. It's something that, especially if you're like a Clynelish fan or even like a Lowland Scotch fan, it's sort of like Clynelish meets Bladnoch or something. It should really be on your radar. Something about it, I just love that profile. The problem is Glen Ord isn't really a brand. It's a distillery. It's a huge distillery, but like unless you're in Asia, it really isn't a brand, and it's going to be tricky to get hold of. So if I have to pick a brand in Scotch that I am ride or die for, it's going to be Benromach. Benromach. It's a long-standing distillery, but it was basically rebuilt, say about 25 years ago by Gordon and MacPhail. They redesigned the stills, they redesigned everything. And the benchmark, I've talked to these people, you kind of got to read between the lines, but it seems like the benchmark was wartime Macallan. So you're talking Speyside whiskey, Speyside malt, but very, very heavy, very oily, grassy, herbaceous, really suited for sherry maturation, but with a little bit of peat, because in wartime there wasn't any other fuel to use. That's pretty much what you got in Benromach. It's a distillery where I may not buy everything they put out, but everything they put out is kind of interesting. Like even the stuff where it's just, you know, throwing their whiskey into different casks. It's a little bit of a step up. Like Polish oak, that's cool. Like triple distillation, that's cool. Like I may not go run and buy it right away, but man, I really love everything that this distillery is doing. So it is my my favorite, I guess, my favorite Scotch brand. Also up there, I mean, there's a bunch I watch out for. Glen Ord being one of them. Glen Garioch, if for the sake of the transcript down there. Glen Garioch, over in the Eastern Highlands, is the Beam Suntory brand that they don't seem to have noticed enough to kind of crap it down. They're actually getting like they're going back to direct fired stills and restarting their own maltings. Like Glen Garioch is one to watch in the near future, and even the stuff that's out now, the 12-year-old is fantastic. It's a pain in the ass to get, but it's fantastic. And also, a Glen Moray is a wonderful spoiler. Like, um, is the ceiling on Glen Moray like super duper high? No, it's not really a thoroughbred. But man, if you got $20 and you want to buy a malt that can, fight it out with higher ends, or at least middle end blends, Glen Moray. You got, you know, 25, $30 and you want a decent sherried malt, Glen Moray. You got 25, $30, you want a decent peated malt, Glen Moray. I wouldn't like. I shouldn't just say they're a spoiler of value blend, even though that's really what they're like. There's something there. There's the 18-year-old is actually very. It's like $100, so it's a good value. It's actually very, very technically impressive. I like it a lot more than other 18-year-olds out there that have much, more that are much more out there in getting people's attention. So I know some on YouTube think Glen Moray is simple and bland. I disagree. I think it's a great thing to look at. And of course, I had to mention Springbank. I love Springbank. It's a wonderful success story in what you can do when you're focusing on keeping things in house. Like they do the maltings in house. They source local barley to the extent that they can. They're really, really focused on like the quality of the malt they put out, and they've been rewarded for it. Everyone is Springbank crazy right now. The only reason it's not like kind of up there with Benromach in my other favorites is yeah, it's impossible to get, especially at a reasonable price, and part of that is it's just the collectors. Sorry, part of it is the importers. Yeah, Pacific Edge. Don't get me started. But yeah, it deserves a place on this list because it's that good. So yeah, Springbank. But yeah, if I'm ride or die for any Scotch brand, it's going to be Benromach. As far as American, well, okay, so let's go through the rest of the world. Japanese whiskey. I feel like it's just too damn expensive right now. For what's on the shelf, it feels like a tax on people who don't want to explore Scotch. Like, I think that's what it is. I'm really sorry. I think that's what it is right now. It's just like people stare at the wall of Scotch. They get scared. They go to the slightly smaller wall of Japanese looking stuff. And they grab whatever their budget allows for. Ireland, very quickly going to get interesting because there's so many young, cool distilleries that are coming around. I don't know if I have a favorite yet, but it's something I'm watching as closely as I can. But yeah, America. Let's go to America. Distillery I'm ride or die for. I'm sorry, it's gonna be Turkey. That being said, Turkey for me is kind of a little bit on the way down. I don't like the rise as much as I used to, and some of the limited edition stuff, the pricing is just getting a little bit silly. And Long Branch isn't that good, but still, if even if they're maybe moving down in the ranks slowly, this is the one I'm ride or die for. Turkey comes off the still at low strength. It's very grainy. It's very distillate forward, and I love that. Other American distilleries I love, I hate to say it, but Beam's portfolio is a mess. It's always been a mess, kind of. But it's a mess where there are a lot of just fantastic gems, especially at a reasonable price range. Like, I did not expect anything from Old Tub. Old Tub is kind of great. The Old Granddad range is kind of great. So yeah, respect due to Beam. Just be wary. It's not a completely even portfolio in terms of style. And then there's some smaller distilleries which absolutely you should be paying attention to. First up would be Leopold Brothers. No one in America is dragging American distilling back into craftness, artisanal creation, and away from industrial alcohol production more so than Leopold Brothers. Heritage grains, open top fermentation. The friggin' chamber still. They rebuilt the old chamber still. Is their stuff still a little bit young? Still a little bit expensive? Yeah, but man, they're going to rule the world in a decade or so. Also, props to J. Henry. J. Henry, also a distillery that really focuses on the grain first. They don't even have a distillery. Like they are farmers, and they have their stuff contract distilled elsewhere. But the quality of this distillate is really good. Weirdly, the reason why I think it works for them is they're also among the kind of grain forward distillate for distillers. They're the ones that have managed to kind of pound their stuff with oak better than anyone else. Like there's something about what they're doing. It really works well with oak, but it's still, you can tell the grains are there. Oh, footnote. Robin, at the end of her video, has a wonderful rant about craft distilling, especially in America, and about what customers and audiences should be expecting from craft distillers, and to what extent craft distilleries should be following that. It's really annoying when, you know, a mass audience goes to craft distilleries and they just want, you know, Evan Williams, basically, except with the stamp of craftness, so that they feel cool, they feel good about themselves or something. No, I like the craft distillery should be putting out stuff with character, and I don't, you know, when they're faced with that customers, do I understand why the craft distilleries would want to appeal to that, you know, go to that market? Yeah. Are they going to be able to do it as well as, you know, just sourcing some friggin' MGP, which is pretty common? No, like I would like to live in a world where it's acceptable to distill something different. And hey, check it out. That's what this channel is all about. Sorry, what was I saying? Right. J. Henry. I like their stuff. Again, still too expensive, but keep an eye on them. And lastly, Tom's Foolery in Ohio. This is kind of a cross-category thing, because one of the things that's cool about Tom's Foolery is they make a really good American whiskey, but they make really good other stuff too, especially apple brandy. We'll come back to the apple brandy in a second. So the ones I would be ride or die for would be Benromach, Wild Turkey. Yeah, a little mad on this. Moving on. Second category Robin mentioned was rum. So let's do rum. Ride or die, I'm going Hampden. Of course I'm going Hampden. Hampden, there are a lot of really, really, really great rum distilleries. Especially on Jamaica. Man, there's so many good distilleries on Jamaica. Hampden is the one where it's not just they're a great distillery, but somehow everything came together in the way that they were able to put out their own product. Remember, they've only been putting out their own stuff for less than a decade. I think the Hampden Estate brand itself has really only been around since like 2018 or so. So like 5-6 years. But the way they've been able to present what they're doing, combined with the quality of the distillate, what the aging, the marketing, the blending, everything has just come together, and it's just beautiful. This is why I think it's that synergy that is why I think Hampden is probably the best brand in the world right now. It's like Michael Phelps dropping into Beijing in 2008. Like, it's that level of dominating performance. Are there other great rums out there? Yes. Are there other great rums out there in Jamaica? Yes. Is anyone doing it better than Hampden right now? I don't think they are. Other brands that are definitely in the mix. Bielle in Guadeloupe is absolutely phenomenal. I love their stuff. If I see it, I will grab it. Basically, pretty much anything they do at a reasonable price. Foursquare, definitely out there. Definitely, maybe even a hair bit overexposed right now. But God, they're doing good stuff. Definitely a wood-driven profile, but they are, they are the ambassadors for rum right now. Like it or not, like they are showing that rum can be made in a serious way, and that is opening the door to everyone else, including Hampden. Of all people, as much as I hate to say it. Also, Rivers on Granada. Rivers, they make one rum. They've been making it for a long time, and they are very, very good at it. I love Rivers. If you still see a bottle out near you, grab it while you still can. Also, Roulaison in my favorite American rum distillery out in Louisiana. I don't think it's quite at the level, definitely not the level of Hampden, but they just started, man, and I already like their stuff quite a lot. And last off, if I had to be ride or die, I'm going to be ride or die for one more rum brand, and that's the Spirit of Haiti, the Vellier Clarins. Some of the aged ones I haven't been super hot on, but all the unaged Clarins in the Vellier house, really unaged Clarins beyond that too as well. But particularly these are the OGs of the category. These are just good. Like, if I see a new one coming down the pipe, I am like staring at the shelf, waiting for it to show up so I can grab it like on day one. Like this is a ride or die for me. All right, moving on. Robin's next category was brandy. Scroll down my list here. All right, brandy, ride or die. Baraillon. Baraillon in the heart of Bas-Armagnac. This is rustic stuff. It is. There's a perception of Armagnac as the kind of rustic French brandy. This is carrying that to the extreme. It is muddy and like lemony and like savory and weird. It's just weird, especially as it gets older. I like a lot of what. Well, I like pretty much everything Baraillon has done. They've done some full 100% full blanche expressions, varietal expressions. I think everything they do is in-house. Aging, I think it's all estate fruit that I think they're distilling with themselves, at least nowadays. There's a Blanche Armagnac, which I am trying to get from Baraillon. But yeah, this is basically another one where if I see it, I am at a reasonable price, I am buying it. Other brandies that are really high on the list for me in America, Laird's. Laird's, one of the all-time great American distilleries. Don't buy the Applejack. The Applejack sucks, but everything else they make in that kind of apple brandy line is worth your attention, especially the single cask stuff. Always good. In fact, I have another one coming very, very soon. Clear Creek in Oregon. Another long-standing great, not as long-standing as Laird's, but a long-standing great American distillery. Part of the first generation of craft distillers after the war. They came back in, I guess it would have been the 70s or the 80s. They do a lot of fruit brandy, which is amazing. They're starting to bottle some of it at higher proof, which is really starting to excite me. And they do some fantastic whiskey as well. They do a whole range of cool stuff. I love Clear Creek, so it belongs on this list. In terms of cognac, Jean Fillioux is pretty high up there. I generally like their stuff. I was shaken in my confidence by a few recent bottlings that I had, which were a little bit sweet for me, but the Pouillade and some of the other things I've had have been so strong for me, especially as values, that I still recommend them. They're still up there. Giboin, based in the Borderies, but they have plantings elsewhere. Giboin is a great cognac house, and they just nail that really flower-forward Borderies style that I love. Over in Alsace, Metté, one of the great eau de vie distillers. Not as kind of expensive, but not as expensive as some of those great eau de vie distillers can get. I will also give some kudos to Rudolf Jelínek over in the Czech Republic. Are they on the level of say, Metté or Clear Creek? No, but they're cheap and they're around and they're presented well, and I love them. Couple more Armagnacs. Daranson, naturally fermented Ténéraz Armagnac. It's fantastic. It's a little expensive, but God, it's good. And Tariquet from Baz Armagnac. Especially their basic full blanche line at cask strength are killer values. The U.S. distribution is a little spotty on those, but keep an eye out for them. Moving on. Sorry, did I mention I'm sick? I'm a little sick. Agave. Agave was tricky for me, building a list. So I thought, start with tequila. We're going to split this up in a couple different groups. In terms of tequila, I thought, an old favorite of mine would be like La Alteña, right? Who make a lot of, El Tesoro, a bunch of my favorite tequilas, but they're not the one I'm ride or die for these days. El Pandillo, the G4 folks, I love what they're doing, but it's getting to be a pain in the ass to source them, and yeah, they're not the one I'm ride or die for. I think the tequila distillery I am ride or die for right now is Cascahuin. This is one of their projects. They have so many projects. Siembra Valles. Cascahuin it's lowlands based. It's kind of lost a little bit in the shadow of 40 lasers, but it's definitely way up there in quality, and they're just doing cooler stuff. Like there's so many like little experiments they have running at any given time, and they're all pretty darn good. That Siembra Valles Ancestral was my favorite spirit pick of last year. So yeah, it's got to be on this list. Cascahuin. What is the number? Nom 1123. I got to give some props to some of the agave distillate folks out there. Not necessarily mezcal, because remember, mezcal is a legal classification these days, not just a term to describe agave spirit. Got to be certified, right? I love La Venenosa in Jalisco. God, they make some good stuff. I like, as long as we're talking about Raicilla, I love Las Perlas de Jalisco. There's another bottling from them beyond the basic one that I really need to grab, because I love the basic Las Perlas so much. Also Mezante, especially the Lorenzo Virgin. I've tried a bunch of the Mezantes. I need to buy some more. They're kind of expensive though, but a great range of stuff centered around Jalisco again, but really sort of drawing from throughout Mexico. But if I was going to be ride or die for a mezcal / agave distillate brand, it would be Cinco Sentidos. Cinco Sentidos, and particularly I love Tío Pedro's stuff. Tío Pedro's like this 60-year-old guy who really only got a distillery late in life, but I love what he does. There's very long fermentations, so his stuff gets very like pickly and fruity. It's just delightful. Also Darumbas, which I did some reviews just recently. A good range of value mezcals. And before I leave Mexico, I do want to bring up SOTOL. Like, SOTOL is, if you are not looking into SOTOL as a fan of Mexican spirits, you are missing out. Particularly the La Higuera line is definitely worth your attention. I will now insert a spirits category that Robin didn't mention, but I'm sure she just forgot, because it's a category she should totally be into, given her interests in microbes and stuff. Baijiu. The Baijiu I'm not going to name all the Baijius I like, but the one I'm ride or die for is, of course, Luza Laojiao in Sichuan. It's been around for way, way longer than any other distillery in the Western world. And oh, by the way, they're delicious and I would say reasonably accessible to, palates unfamiliar with Baijiu. So yeah, Luzo Laojiao, ride or die. And in terms of the last category was sort of like vodkas and gins and liqueurs. And these are things I'm still trying to decide what my favorites are. In terms of vodka, the one I've been most impressed by so far is the Woody Creek, the potato vodka, which actually has some potato character. Do I wish it was bottled at 50% and, taken off the still even a little bit lower? Yeah, absolutely. But it's still great. In terms of gin, man, I like the St. George Terroir gin. But in that kind of broad, if you didn't hear me, St. George Terroir gin, I reviewed it. I love it. But there's something I love even more. It's more expensive, but it is worth seeing in a bottle. Clear Creek, Douglas Fir Brandy. This is great. I was finally able to get a hold of a bottle of this thanks to a very kind person. And it's basically like, drinking the Pacific Northwest. I absolutely adore it. And that is my lineup of my favorite spirits brands, or whatever the heck this is. Oh, one more. One more wild card. Baraillon. Go buy some Baraillon. It's great. And yeah, that's kind of it. I'm going to push the rare breed out of the way so I can hit the space bar here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding, my being sick, and cheers.